Here are some of the wealthiest and most powerful families in no particular order. Number 10. The Ambani family. Mukesh Ambani is the family's most prominent member. He is well known for his absurd $2 billion mansion, which is the world's most costly private dwelling. That's a lot of indulgence to roughly 95% of us, but it's probably not much to Asia's richest man. The Ambani family fortune is believed to be worth over $81.3 billion. Mukesh is the largest stakeholder in Reliance Industries Limited, India's largest firm by market capitalization. The Ambani family's wealth is mostly due to Reliance, which owns the world's largest oil refining facility. Dhirubhai Ambani, the family patriarch, created Reliance Industries in 1966. He withstood multiple business disasters that helped him grow into the behemoth that he is today. Surprisingly, he had no will in place at the time of his death in 2002. That minor blunder jeopardized both his corporate empire and his family's unity. Fortunately, his wife intervened and negotiated a reasonable settlement for the two heirs, Mukesh and Anil. Number 9. The Wertheimer family. You've probably heard of the renowned fashion brand Chanel. That is the core of the Wertheimer family's $54.4 billion fortune. The firm is headed by brothers Elaine and Gerard Wertheimer, who have been there for almost 40 years. The brothers are the third generation to oversee the family firm, which their grandfather Pierre Wertheimer founded in the 1920s. Technically, Pierre did not establish the corporation. Coco Chanel, the founder and designer, was already running Chanel effectively. Wertheimer, the company's founder, joined when he sponsored Coco Chanel's Chanel No. 5, a renowned fragrance that is still popular today. After Coco died in 1971, the Wertheimers purchased her share of the firm. Pierre's grandkids now have entire ownership of the brand. Aside from the Chanel brand, Elaine and Gerard own vineyards in both France and the United States. Number 8. The Hermes family. The Hermes family is another wealthy family who owes their riches to the fashion business. The Hermes brand sells a wide range of premium fashion items such as jewelry, handbags, fragrances, and scarves. However, when the corporation was founded in 1837, the scope was not as broad. The creator, Thierry Hermes, specialized in producing harnesses for European noblemen only. When his son and, subsequently, grandchildren took over, the company's inventory became more diverse. And, while it had persisted for a long time, the 1970s had been a fairly precarious landing ground. Despite the fact that other firms in the same industry were doing well, sales were declining. When Jean-Louis Dumas took control in 1978, the company's prospects began to improve. He overhauled several of the company's services, increasing yearly revenues from $50 million when he took control to $460 million in 1990. Hermes now generates almost $6 billion in yearly income, indicating that the family's fortune will be around for a long time. Number 7. Albrecht family. This family's fortune is worth $41 billion, and it has been battled over several times. The family has had several court disputes for ownership of the massive enterprise, which is nothing new. The two brothers and co-founders, Theo and Carl Albrecht, decided to divide the firm they had fought so hard to develop in the 1960s. To cut a long tale short, they couldn't agree on the company's path. So, instead of simply Aldi, we now have Aldi Nord and Aldi Sud, each with thousands of locations globally. They can all be traced back to their mother's first food shop. Now that both brothers have passed on to the next world, Theo's share of the riches is up for grabs. At the heart of it all is his daughter in alleged law's display of family riches. Her lifestyle contradicts the Albrechts' desire to live a simple existence. This is something that Theo is said to be concerned about. Silly, his wife, expressed further worries in her will. She accused her daughter-in-law and her children of wasting millions of dollars on frivolities. Nikolai Albrecht, Theo's grandson, sued his own mother and sisters in August 2020 for allegedly stealing money from the family trust. All of these disagreements, of course, have placed doubt on the empire's longevity. However, with billions of dollars still flowing in every year, it will be some time before we see anything significant. Number 6. The Thomson family. The richest family in Canada derives $40.6 billion from their 66% interest in Thomson Reuters. They mostly deal with financial data and services. Roy Thomson began his ascension to the top with his first media venture in 1931. That was a radio station from Ontario. He added another media firm to his portfolio a year later when he purchased the Timmins Daily Press. Another year later, he bought the Scotsman newspaper. You can probably predict what he did next. He continued to acquire controlling interests in key media organizations such as the Sunday Times and the Times. Roy amassed nearly 200 newspapers in Canada, the United Kingdom, and the United States throughout his lifetime, making him Canada's largest media proprietor. Aside from Reuters, the family also controls the Globe and Mail newspaper and a share in Bell Canada, a telecommunications company. Number 5. The von Baumbach-Boehringer family. This is one of the oldest wealth empires still in existence today. The family has been in existence for 130 years and is still going strong. The pharmaceutical business Boehringer Ingelheim, established by Albert Boehringer in 1885, lies at the heart of the empire. Albert purchased a tiny tartar plant in Germany that year. The facility began manufacturing tartaric acid the next year for use in the food sector, such as baking soda and carbonated drinks. The family's net worth is estimated to be $45.7 billion. Of course, this is just guesswork because the family's massive corporation is still entirely privately owned and run. Despite Albert's death in 1939, the firm grew to become one of the largest in its field. Boehringer Ingelheim is now the second largest pharmaceutical firm in Germany and one of the top 20 in the world. That's pretty much all there is to know about the actual family. The von Baumbach-Boehringer family is famously secretive. They, like the Albrechts, avoid the spotlight as much as possible and rarely allow interviews. Nothing is known about them except that they are the masterminds behind one of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies. 4. The Johnsons. The Johnson family is another affluent dynasty that wishes to remain mostly hidden. That includes not only personal problems but also many of their commercial interests. But what is known is that they hold 49% of Fidelity Investments, which accounts for a sizable amount of their $46.3 billion empire. Fidelity, founded in 1946 by Edward Johnson II, has grown to a customer base of over 30 million individuals with over $3.5 trillion in retirement savings. According to September 2020 numbers, Fidelity is the second largest mutual fund business behind Vanguard. Abigail Johnson, the founder's granddaughter and perhaps one of the most prominent executives in the banking sector, leads the family. She took over as CEO from her father in 2014 and was named president 2 years later. When you think about it, her stance was very normal. She had been working part-time at the firm since college. After graduating from Harvard Business School in 1988, she went full-time. With a 24.5% share in the firm, she is worth $15 billion, making her one of the world's wealthiest women. 3. House of Saud. It should come as no surprise that the Saudi royal family is one of the wealthiest families in the world. The monarchy owns around 15% of the world's oil reserves. This provides the family with nearly limitless fortune. In fact, because the whole fortune is held by over 15,000 royals, their combined net worth might be substantially more than the estimated $95 billion. Aside from oil, the royal family members make a lot of money from conducting business with the government. Much of this activity is conducted through land deals or corporations that provide services to state-owned enterprises. Saudi Aramco, for example, is the world's most lucrative firm. It is mostly under the authority of the Saudi government, and we all know who the Saudi government is. It's not always clear how the Saudi royals spend their billions. However, the present Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman appears to be an exception. The future king is known to lavishly spend millions of dollars on ships, residences, and artwork. His acquisition of Leonardo da Vinci's painting for $450 million is the most expensive in history. 2. The Thai royal family. Thailand's King Rama X has long been known for his lavish lifestyle, which contrasts sharply with his father's frugal habits. But it's hardly unexpected given that he's currently regarded the richest king alive. With a net worth of more than $40 billion, he outweighs some of the world's wealthiest hereditary monarchs, including the Saudi king, the British royal family, and the Sultan of Brunei. In theory, at least, in certain nations, simply because you do not own something does not mean you do not have power over it. Many Thais are worried about how the Thai monarchy amassed so much riches. To grasp the scenario, consider how the monarchy's assets were managed prior to the present king's rule. The Crown Property Bureau was in charge of Thailand's riches prior to King Rama X's reign, according to the country's constitution. It was run by a board of directors, the majority of whom were selected by the monarch. The riches belonged to the crown rather than an individual ruler. However, in 2018, the Thai king reversed that judgment, bringing the money under his direct authority. That is by far the quickest way to a lot of money. Thailand's government has allocated more than $1 billion to support the monarchy in 2020, despite the fact that Thailand's economy is contracting. The Thai anti-monarchy protests that have been going on throughout 2020 are very likely to continue. Number 1. The Kochs. Koch Industries is the biggest privately owned firm in the United States with an estimated annual sales of more than $110 billion. This implies that the two largest shareholders, David and Charles Koch, will be among the world's wealthiest, with a combined net worth of an estimated $110 billion. The two brothers each hold 42% of the corporation created by their father, Fred C. Koch, almost 90 years ago. While the company's interests have varied over the years, Koch Industries' success is mostly founded in the refinery business. Fred invented a fantastic method of refining crude oil into gasoline in 1940, beginning the company's principal business. And it's largely responsible for the family's large riches. Koch Industries now sells paper goods, chemicals, and operates a venture capital fund. While Charles and his late brother are the only Koch heirs with an interest in the business, there were others. Frederick and William Koch, for example, surrendered their holdings in 1983 following a court dispute. Here's what comes next.